Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're specifically going to talk about the greatest Dungeons & Dragons story of 2023, which is Legends of Vox Machina Season 2 on Amazon Prime. So let me establish why that's a Dungeons & Dragons story. That story is crafted by an incredible D&D canon hardback author, Matthew Mercer. And the entire story takes place in the D&D canon setting of Exandria. Right? So it's a Dungeons & Dragons story, in my humble opinion. And what we want to talk about today is the friendship inception of Trinket and Vexalia. And specifically, I want to talk about Trinket in Legends of Vox Machina and how Trinket has become the ultimate Dungeons & Dragons animal companion, right? And Trinket has achieved this status by name recognition. So just to be super clear, everybody know Trinket. I think Trinket is now officially the most famous Dungeons and Dragons animal companion in the world. Now, who did Trinket have to beat to become the most famous animal companion in the world? Well, Gwynharv, right, which is the panther of Dritsteward, okay? And here's now why did this happen? Why was Trinket Vexalia's bear companion from Legends of Vox Machina? Why was it able to surpass Dritsteward, right? Well, first of all, it's a great question. Let's dig into it, right? So the novel is dead. The novel is dead. The novel is dead. The books are a suck medium that have been fully defeated at this point by two different other platforms. Books are defeated now by Dungeons & Dragons. So Dungeons & Dragons stories, those narratives are far more powerful and far more valuable than anything you could find in any secular text, right? Now, sacred text like the Holy Bible, that's a special book. And it's not even... the Holy Bible is technically a book, but really every Holy Bible in the world is actually kind of a talisman, in that if you read the Holy Bible, and you're saved, the Holy Spirit will actually help you interpret and understand the Holy Bible, right? There's no secular book in the world that has a spirit that comes along and helps you understand it, right? So as far as secular books, the D&D canon, the DMG, the PHB, and the MM have far surpassed all books out there, and they have created a role-playing experience, and the narrative that can be achieved on Dungeons & Dragons is far better than anything like the Harry Potter books, right? Just more meaningful, more valuable, okay? In addition to that, books have now, this is kind of sad to me, but it's just a reality, is the big and the small screen have far surpassed books, right? When you talk to people about Game of Thrones, you're far more likely to talk to people who have watched 8 seasons of Game of Thrones and 1 season of House of the Dragon. And even if you read George R.R. Martin's books and you're talking about Game of Thrones, you're a piker. You don't know what you're talking about, right? Because the reality is, so if you read the books of Game of Thrones, you're a know-nothing quitter, right? Because you don't even know the full story, right? Whereas, and that's the reason why that is George R.R. Martin is a know-nothing quitter, right? He quit writing the books, right? And David and David, the producers of Game of Thrones, they finished it. They finished his work, right? So the greater creators on Game of Thrones are the show creators, right? And George R.R. Martin is a useless vestigial nub on Game of Thrones now. And if you sense a little saltiness, I have saltiness because I read those 5 books, right? That were, that actually told the story. And now, George R.R. Martin is trying to milk people with let me write, so another stupid book about a prequel and never give you the real ending to Game of Thrones, right? So, and this has happened over and over and over again. Patrick Rothfuss, right? There are basically authors, right, left and right in fantasy right now, that write they write Bridges to Nowhere and then spend the rest of their careers virtually spitting in the face of the people who pay them the most money. It is so so books suck. I just they're compared to the stories you're going to get on big screen and small screen. There's just more dedicated, hardworking creators on the big screen and the small screen, and more than anything else, they're willing to finish their work, right? Whereas Patrick Rothfuss, George R.R. Martin, they don't finish their work, right? And also, like, even sorry, the lady who writes Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, excuse me, right? She did a tremendous job of finishing her series. All right, it's been 10 years. I want more, right? No, you don't get any more, right? Authors suck. They just suck. Like, they let us down left and right, right? Whereas Game of Thrones finished George R.R. Martin's work and gave us more, right? They did the George R.R. Martin task and they did the J.K. Rowling task, right? So if you want good, powerful stories, you need to go find a dungeon master, or you need to find a big or small screen director, right? And I don't like saying that because I got a crap ton of libraries and I love books, right? And I'll be a reader until they put me into a pine box. But the reality is I've been stung too many times by authors, right? Whereas directors and dungeon masters are delivering, right? So until there comes forward a transformative author who can do what Hollywood is doing and doing what dungeon masters can do, I'm going to continue to say, right now, secular books suck, right? And they're just telling smaller stories than you could find on Dungeons and Dragons and on the big and small screen. So we get this amazing story of Trinket, right? And this is the story of a ranger, right? That's Vex'ahlia, and her animal companion Trinket, right? And actually, in season 2, we get to see the friendception, the friendship inception, right? The very beginning of the friendship between Vex'ahlia and Trinket, right? Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this at the end there. So Trinket and Vex'ahlia have a real show now, right? And it's continuing, and Amazon Prime just said, holy cow, Critical Role. You guys are doing such an amazing job bringing us these Dungeons & Dragons stories. We want more, and we'll take everything you can get, and we're going to sign a first look deal with you. And that's what they did, right? And we're going to get Mighty Nine, and we're going to get a whole bunch of stuff, right? Which is great. Where's my Dritz Do'Urden show? It's nowhere, right? And that's why Gwenrarvir doesn't matter. Dritz Do'Urden don't have a show, don't have a movie, right? Until Gwenrarvir, and now Trinket has surpassed Gwenrarvir to be the most famous animal companion in all of Dungeons and Dragons, right? All right, so let's talk about what happens with Vex'ahlia and Trinket. So Vex'ahlia and Vax'ilidon, Vex and Vax, these two noble elves, right, brother and sister, have to leave their ancestral elven home, right? So they do. They have to go. They literally become urchins, right? They're out on the streets. They're street urchins, right? And they come across this area where there is this bear that is being used for combat, right? So they go into this area and they find this gigantic bear, and the two of them, see this bear is wounded, and they go up to the bear to try to help the bear, right? And they kind of take out some of their own rations to feed the bear, but the bear is almost dead, right? And it's dying, right? So this gets really interesting. So Vax'ilidon actually kills the bear, right? So I want to talk one more time about death. There's Dungeons and Dragons. It's astounding, right? There's do you guys know that thaumaturgy is the study of death, right? So when we look at death in Dungeons & Dragons, we see things that are just absolutely astounding, right? So I had previously talked about the death of Brimscythe, the blue ancient dragon, right? Was he killed? Was he murdered? Was he slain, right? So villagers would say that Brimscythe was killed. They're 100% wrong. You can't kill a dragon, right? Basically, in order to kill a dragon, you have to bring incredible forces, incredible equipment to bear. You have to slay a dragon, right? Now, Vox Machina will tell you, the members of Vox Machina will tell you that they slayed Brimscythe the dragon. And so maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. It's certainly wrong that Brimscythe was killed. You don't kill a dragon, you slay a dragon, right? So let's get all the way there, right? So maybe Brimscythe was slain, right? That is an appropriate term for killing something that is so hard to kill as an ancient blue dragon, right? But maybe Brimscythe was murdered, right? If you ask the members of Chroma Conclave where their brother in arms, where their extra member of the Chroma Conclave what happened to Brimsite, they'll tell you he was murdered, that his life was taken, and that was not an appropriate action from Vox Machina, right? So now we know the definitions, right? Literally down to the death of player characters within Dungeons and Dragons. So get this. We've looked at the definition of kill, murder, slay, right? But now, when we're here and we're looking at right here, when we look at the death of Trinket's mother, we see another word, released. Okay, Vexalladon, Vax, right? Vex's brother, and the relationship is between Trinket and Vex, right? Trinket is Vex's animal companion, but Vexalladon actually kills. Vexalladon kills, and this is important, right? Vexalladon kills Trinket's mother. Right? Actually, Vexalladon releases Trinket's mother. It looks like he's killing her, but that's not right. She's in incredible pain, and no one is there that can help or give aid, right? Even Vax and Vex, they don't have enough time, right? But the bear is in incredible pain, and this still happens in America, where when an animal is in incredible pain and no one can stop that pain for him, they'll say they let them down, right? They put them down, they put the animal down, and that's a kind way of saying we're going to kill this animal, right, in order to have its pain reduced, right? And it's not killing it, it's releasing it. So Vexalladon releases Trinket's mother, releases it from this world, releases it from pain, right? And there's even a term for that in America for humans, right? And it's called euthanasia. And there's this deep question of death, right? And in Legends of Vox Machina Season 2, the greatest Dungeons & Dragons story told in 2023, you see this really, it is truly an incredible story of a look at death, right? Like, so kill, murder, slay, release, right? These all have different definitions, and the rest of the world sad sacks it and goes over to a dictionary and like looks up the term. We explore these terms in Dungeons & Dragons. We show what it means in the narrative. Show, not tell, right? We don't just use, we show this, right? And so if you are in a Dungeons & Dragons game for any amount of time, right, with a skilled dungeon master, you're going to see kill, murder, slay, and release. And you're going to be able to see this firsthand. And you're not going to just read the definition and have this abstract concept. You're going to feel it, right? You're going to feel it in your IRL self, and you're going to feel it in a second set of sense experiences, a second set of emotions, a second set of memories, a second set of thoughts, a second set of chosen moral actions, right, of your additional identities, which are part of you as a manifold sentient, right? You see where I'm going here? Like, we just don't, like, once you start playing Dungeons & Dragons, you don't function as a normal human anymore. You really don't, because you're not, right? You are manifold sentient, right? So we've looked at the death of Trinket's mother, and then Trinket, this incredibly adorable little baby bear, comes out, and Vex hugs it because it's seen its mother pass, but it also knows that its mother was in incredible pain, and it couldn't even watch the death that was happening, right? And so you have this astounding, incredible activity that's happening, and we see this friendception, right? This friend inception between Vexalia and Trinket. And at this point, right, we are now witnessing the very beginning of the friendship between Vex and Trinket. And now we know why Vex will not hesitate for even a nanosecond to give her life for Trinket. And Trinket will not hesitate for even a nanosecond to give his life for Vex, right? And it is beautiful and stunning, and it is a story that would be impossible to tell without Dungeons & Dragons. Wait a second, Scott. Would it be impossible? Yes, because you haven't done it, OSR, and you haven't done it, OGL, and you haven't done it, Orc, right? You want to shut my mouth? Do it. right? Right now, when I go to find a transformative story on the big screen or the small screen that was created by OSE, DCC, Pathfinder, there's nothing there, right? So it is easy for me to say, and truthful in my humble opinion, to say it's impossible to tell without Dungeons & Dragons because it hasn't been done, right? Like, there you go, all right? So every word of that is my humble opinion. What's super important is when I hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.